Ladies and gentlemen, Marines, sailors, SEALs, today we have the one, the only friend of the show, Chris Beck. Chris, how we doing, brother?
Hey, pretty good, man. Friend of the show. Thanks.
Absolutely. Number two. How we doing over there in upstate New York, my friend?
Oh, it's cold, man. We got like a foot of snow on the ground and it's in the 20s right now.
Jeez, I don't know how you do it, man. But hey, Massachusetts isn't much better.
Yeah, it's fact.
But we got a lot going
Hey,
on
you
in
called me number two. You know what number two is, right?
what?
That's not very cool.
Well, second show.
No,
Second show.
I'm just messing.
So yeah, we talked a little bit off mic, and religion is something that me and you bounced off a little bit on the first show, and I wanted to preface that a little bit about my struggle with religion. So I grew up Catholic, and as I think we have some similarities, we do a lot of research and stuff that we believe in,
Yes.
and when you unfortunately when you dig into religion, you see a lot of black stains, if you will,
Mhm.
on whether you're Catholic, Christian, Muslim, whatever you choose to get behind. But early days of religion were, I mean, as anything, they have their rough spots,
Yes.
and
Yep.
if you look into the early days of religion, it seems like, from my eyes, if I was a someone in the early days, there's not much to believe in, and you don't know much. And I'm sure if someone weren't to know much as a human being, and you just see the people around you dying, it gets kind of chaotic and scary.
Yeah.
So, you want to believe in something, and of course, religion was established, and I think in the early days it was more a form of a government or a form of control, and then towards our era it morphed into something different, whether it's something to
Yeah.
believe in, whether it's a form of control, whether whatever you want to look at it as. But if you
Yeah.
could maybe talk to us about your path of religion and where you're at now, and how you perceive, I think a lot of veterans see it the same way I do, and if you could
Yeah.
curtail it with that, and keep that in the back of your mind as well.
Okay. So before we lose everybody, because we're going to be talking about religion a little bit on this show, we're also going to be talking about aliens and giants and UFOs and a bunch of other stuff. So it's not just going to be about religion. So
Absolutely.
just be sure if you hold
Absolutely.
on your seats and get through this, you're going to hear some other really cool stuff. Plus, there's some stuff that I figured out that I think a lot of people are really struggling with. And the fact is all those religions you're talking about, they got a lot of good stuff in them, but they also have a lot of bad stuff in them. The reason they have bad stuff in them is because there's a lot of men in charge. There's these dudes that are greedy, they have egos, they do all the stuff, and then they get caught up into it when they get the power and the money. I
Absolutely.
mean, you see that how bad power corrupts and how bad money corrupts. Now imagine having, both of those, and you have it from the creator, and that's what they're assuming. They're taking these mantles on themselves as these great shepherds to lead all these sheep into the promised land through the gate, because you can't
Huge
get to the promised
responsibility,
land
huge
through the gate.
responsibility, especially as a human.
100%. So that's the problem is there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of bad. So what you need to do is try to pick out the goods out of there and then try to understand the bad isn't from a creator. It isn't from someone who is ultimately good, or even if you want to go to the other side, if they're ultimately bad. And so how I want to lay this out for you is what I've been thinking about really long time for you to explain this to veterans, and what I want to say is if you have the creator and he is all everything, he is all of it, and past infinity, past all that, because infinity is small. You have to understand. Infinity is that loop, right? Infinity is stuck here. I want to go to eternity. I don't want to be stuck inside of an infinity loop. And so if you do stuff worldly, you're going to be in infinity. You're going to be here for a long time. And this is something that goes back into the Buddhists and India and Chinese and Native Americans. I mean, we all talk about it. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you was, I mean, shoot, if you go back here, it's all Josephus and a whole bunch of books from the 1800s and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I have Paleolithic stuff back here. I've been studying this stuff for a couple of years, and I'm so far beyond. Like I was ordained minister and I did all that stuff, and I'm so far beyond that if I couldn't even get a PhD right now on the stuff I'm doing right now because they wouldn't understand half of it because it's mostly like based on the Dead Sea Scrolls. So
Okay.
I've been digging the Dead Sea Scrolls for a long time.
First, for the people
Now,
that don't, for the people that don't know what the Dead Sea Scrolls are, could you preface that?
okay, so the Dead Sea Scrolls, just before Israel became a nation, they found these caves in that area, and Qumran caves also. There's a bunch of caves. Little shepherd throwing rocks, and went down in there, and something clink, and it broke. And he went down in there, investigated, and found a bunch of these clay pots with scrolls. And it's hundreds of scrolls. Well, I don't know about hundreds, but yeah, I think it is hundreds. It's a lot of scrolls, but it's all old stuff. These are dating back thousands of years. And so if you have the Bible, what you're looking at today, and I've got them all over the place back here, but people say, well, the Bible's been changed and it's this and that, and that, and that, and they're saying all the stuff. But then when we see the Dead Sea Scrolls, they're thousands of years old. The book of Isaiah, especially, is almost exact. And a ton of other books are almost exact. Just a few things here and there. And I think it's because of dialects, it's because of languages, because of, but the translations are kind of the key. So what you have to do is translation is important, and you have to translate it directly back to the Paleolithic Hebrew if you want to be really correct about it. And so that's why I started learning Paleolithic, the Hebrew, like in rock writing. And so I write that and speak that, and it's really difficult to read.
I'm sure.
But I'm trying, And if you could take the Hebrew back to the Paleo times, and then you bring it up to now, I'm finding all kinds of things that were translated incorrectly. And I'm finding things that were also transliterated incorrectly, where the pronunciation of the words, according to the letters in there, it's different. So, my name is Chris, right? But if you pronounce my name Chris in English, and then suddenly I translate to Hebrew, and suddenly I'm Joe, it doesn't make sense. It should be something at least close to Chris. And this has happened to the Messiah. It's not the JC word. And it happened also to the Father, the Creator. It's not God. God is a pagan Germanic thing, and then there's a whole bunch of other things. Lord is a title. You have a landlord, the big fat dude that steals all the money from you. That's a landlord, and you're going to call the Creator, the Master of the universe, the same thing that you call that fat guy taking your money? That's ridiculous. That's so disrespectful. And
So
that's actually one of the commandments.
Things like that were just misconceived throughout
So
translation.
it was on purpose. So what happened was, and I don't want to go too much into this, but there's been a big deception within the Bible and some of the things that they did to it with the translations and things. And they said the scribes are going to do this. It's in the Bible. It says the scribes are going to do something, and they did it. So in 171 BC, the high priest Onias was the last Levite priest, and he was assassinated. And he was replaced by whoever had the most money and influence. Yeah. It was a bought position. And so you can imagine if somebody was buying into that, and it was under Roman rule too, I think at the time, 171 BC. I might be mistaken on that one. I think they were, but he was murdered. And then some of this stuff, check that one because that might be a mistake. Okay. I don't want to have anything wrong, and if I do make mistakes, and so look some stuff up. Look all this up.
Okay. Yeah, do your
171 BC, high priest Onias. Okay. He was a Levite priest. It's a law on earth, an earthly command from the Mosaic laws in the Torah. All priests must be Levites. And that's from the tribe, and Levi, And even Yahushua, the Messiah, was not from the tribe of Levi. He's from the tribe of Judah. And so Onias, 171 BC, was assassinated in the temple, blood spilled all over the place. Talk about desecration of the temple. And then after that, what you have is people buying it for the highest bidder. And then you had the Romans in there and the Roman influence, and they had their puppets. So imagine what happened. Yeah. A lot of stuff happened, but they couldn't change too much because it was written in rock and it was written over there, but they were able to fudge a few things. That's when they enabled to name the BS they talk about, the YHWH, and they can't say the name. They have a whole bunch of make-believe names that replace it with. But he never wanted that. That's why one of the commands in there says, don't take my name in vain. So you shall not take the Father's name in vain, right? And what does that mean, taking him in vain? It means forgetting about him. It means use his name improperly. It doesn't mean like swearing.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So they really did. They took his name in vain. Now people don't even use the right name. Yahuwah, that's his name. Or you can also call him Elohim because that's a bigger group. That's a plural of El. El is God. So I'm going to sometimes say God and the JC thing because it relates to people. But understand the Father, the creator of all of this, he is everything. He is the self-existent one. He was here before anything. And even the Big Bang can't explain what was before it? What caused the Big Bang?
Exactly.
What if it was
I just recently got into that. There had to be something to create that.
something?
Yeah.
Why can't it be an intelligent being?
Mm.
Come on. And if you make it an intelligent being, so much other stuff makes sense. Don't just make it magically, and now we're spinning at millions and billions of miles an hour through the universe, corkscrewing. Where did all that energy come from to let it happen and keep moving? Throw a football. How far does it go? Huh? Make believe your arm is a Big Bang. Throw the football. Does it go forever? Is that millions of years? Come on. There's so many things that are wrong with all the stuff that's going on. So
I think, Chris,
I'm sorry.
I think you see recently a lot of people looking into this just because of all of a sudden we have things flying around in the sky that we don't know what they are. And
Yep. Oh man, let's talk about that later.
we will, we will. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is people are digging into religion again because it's scary.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
seeing things that you don't understand what they are, and you want to understand so badly that, there was a creator, there was someone that, was an all-powerful being, if you
Yep.
will, because I think it says somewhere there's going to be someone coming here that perceives that they're the all-powerful being, they're God, and they're not.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
maybe that's similar to what we're going through right now, if you will, but please continue.
It's wild. Oh yeah, so we have that point, right? We all agree there was something before the Big Bang. Let's just call them, Yah. Because if you go to Psalms, the last 10 Psalms, it says praise Yah is the first two words, and the last two words is praise Yah. Who's Yah? And then in between the first two lines, or the first two words and the last two words, is all the stuff about praise and rejoicing, and Yah, about our Creator. So Yah is like a shortened version for if you want to call our Creator something.
Okay.
It's all throughout the Psalms. It's all throughout the Bible. The word Yah, Hallelujah. It means praise Yah, basically. Praising to Yah, Hallelujah. So Yah, let's call him Yah. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay, is Yah. He's the big guy. He's before the Big Bang. He's before everything. I don't believe in the Big Bang, just to let you know.
Okay.
I think it's all wacko stuff.
Okay.
But okay, so we'll start there, right? And so make believe that is the commissioner of NFL. So National Football League is Yah. And the only thing in the whole world is only football, professional football, okay?
Yep.
That's it. So that's the commissioner, right? And the commissioner runs all of it. How many teams does the commissioner run? He runs a lot of teams. And the teams have two different groups, right?
Yep.
It's AFC or something.
AFC, MCC, yep.
Yeah, so we have two groups, right? And it's just like, yeah, it's exactly what happened. So we have two groups down here. We have light and we have dark. But where did all that come from? It came from the commissioner, right? Both of those associations come from the commissioner. Both of those leagues, right? So now you have the leagues, right? You have the owners are next. So the owners are going to be kind of like the earth. And I can't explain it to you unless you read inside the Essenes or the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you can figure out what the Heavenly Father is and what the earthly mother is. And they've erased this out of history. But it's two big ones right in the beginning. Okay. So you have everything, the commissioner, and then you have owners. Now the owners are pretty close to commissioner. They're big. They have a lot of power. They're really big. You don't want to mess with the owners, right? So that's where we are. Now we have two levels. Now you have the coaches. Now the coaches, that's Yahushua. That's Messiah. That's how you pronounce his name. I call him Yash for short, Y-A-S-H. I don't know if that's respectful or disrespectful, but it's hard sometimes to get everybody. So just catch up. Let's just call him Yash.
Okay.
So now we have number 3. So now we have Yah, now we have Ma, and now we have Yash. Okay? And they're going commissioner to the owners to the coaches.
Yep.
So now what's next? Well, the owners have to put together a stadium. They got to build something. And this is part of the part that gets kind of confusing when you separate the waters from the waters and you make all the stuff. But the owners were part of, with the commissioner, to build the stadium. Now that stadium and the parking lots and everything out there, and as far as you want to go, all the houses for all the people, but the stadium is basically Earth. Okay? Everything's going to happen inside there. And the owners also have to get cheerleaders and vendors and all kinds of other stuff. These are all the angels, all the people that clean the stadium up and fix everything up and make sure you're taken care of when you're there. And they also make sure the players are taken care of. Oh, the players. Well, the players would be like the disciples, you know?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
And so you have a bunch of people on the field, and there's only a few guys on the field. What is it, 11? Dude, I haven't played football in so long because I've been so far out of pro sports, but it's been since high school. But I don't pay attention a lot to professional sports. It's all bred in circuses.
I agree.
But the NFL is a really good way to look at this. So now you have the players. You got 11 dudes on the field,
Yep.
and then you might have another dude that we can say to make it 12, whatever. But you have to remember that when Yash was here, he also designated like 70 other in the book of Acts. Read through it. So a whole bunch of other major players that were doing some really big stuff. That's the rest of the team that's over there, the kicker and the punter and all these others. There's a lot of disciples. And I would say that there's a lot of us that are living right here on the earth today that are there on the field as players. There's a lot going on. And so you have to remember now, there's two sides of the field now, right? You have opposing teams. And so when you have the opposing teams, you got us on this side and you got them on that side. Now, who are them?
Are you saying good and evil?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just call it. That's the easy way to do it.
Okay.
And it's like the Church of Satan is at an equal level as like, the other churches. And let's call it like the temple. Let's just say the temple in general covers all of the good side maybe. And that's all the Protestants and a whole bunch of them. Okay. And then on the other side, you have the Church of Satan, and they have a whole bunch of other different names to them. I think they call them like LDS and a bunch of other stuff. Yep. But all that stuff is all over there. Now, maybe that's not it, but whatever. But check this stuff though. Okay. So now we have two opposing teams and we're always in there battling, right?
Yeah.
But who's the commissioner? Does the commissioner have kind of a say over who wins and loses these games? He does. If you don't believe me, you got to research a little bit.
Definitely
but
does.
there's a lot of stuff going in there. They already know who's going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
So do you think that the disciples that are going to end up in the Super Bowl, those are kind of like chosen disciples? They're going to go to the top and win everything every time? Because the commission is kind of, making sure that everything's playing right according to his plan.
His rules.
And he has a plan. His rules and his plan. Follow his rules and follow the plan, and we're going to be fine. And he has a ton of angels all helping us. The doctors are angels because they're shooting people up and down. They're making things happen on the back end that you will never know about. Now, up in the stadium, you got all these fans, and some of the fans are rabid. They're wild. And they're traveling from really far away, and they buy T-shirts, and they're all really into it. They buy books, and they're checking the numbers, and they know all the names of the players. And they're going nuts, some of these guys, right?
Yep.
And you got a bunch of other fans that are kind of like, yeah, it's cool. I watch it on TV sometimes. And you got some people who hate football. Those would be like the atheists. You got some people that don't mind football. It's cool. I watch it sometimes. Those would be like the agnostics. They don't really believe it. I don't really care. You know what? Do you see where I'm going with this?
I do.
This is religion in general. And when you have those two teams on battling on the field, are they really good and evil?
Exactly.
It's not really. And at the end of the day, when they all do it, they're all going home and it's all going to be okay. And when the season's over, when this whole thing is all done and the season's over and everything's destroyed, what happens to all the players? They're going to be okay, right? But some of them end up playing another season and some of them don't. They retire. And they retire into like the beautiful life and $1 million mansions. And it's beautiful because they did their time. So it might be multiple seasons. That's in the Essenes also, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm following really closely with the Essenes. Okay. And it's a sect of Judaism from the time of Yahushua, Yash. So there was only the Pharisees, the Sadducees.
What time? Give me kind of like a rough timeline we're talking about here.
All this is going way back into the BC times, all the way up until Yash was walking the earth.
So let's
just say I'm talking a lot about right there.
Well before JC.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is going way back. And the Essenes actually. So you have Sadducees, Pharisees, and Essenes. Now, the Sadducees kind of fell away really fast because they didn't believe in a bunch of things that are kind of basic. That if you read the Bible a lot, you're going to see their errors pretty quickly. That's the Sadducees. So it ended up with just the Pharisees. And that's why the Pharisees, they were the only ones really left when Yash started walking the earth. So now let's fast forward up until the time. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And 171 BC, when they assassinated the high priest, the Essenes, they knew this was wrong. And then they saw him starting to put in somebody who was a non-Levite as a high priest. And they know this is against the law. It's against the Torah. And so now the Essenes were like, the heck with this. So the Essenes grabbed all their scrolls. They grabbed everything they wanted and all the stuff that was important. And they fled Jerusalem. You know where they went? Where'd they find the Dead Sea Scrolls? So they fled to the desert. They're the ones that hid all the scrolls. They saved us. So they also the Qumran scrolls and all that. So that's the Qumran desert. And so that's the Essenes. Now the Essenes, I have one of their books right here, and it's a brilliant book. I mean, the 66 book in the Bible, the Catholic Bible is 66 books. The Ethiopian Bible is 88 books. They don't even bring in a lot of Dead Sea Scrolls. But this right here, the Essene Gospel of Peace, and it's written by it was Bordeaux, Edmund Bordeaux. So, but look up the Essene Gospel of Peace. I'm telling you, man, this book blows me away. And if you start following some of the things in here, you are going to be the healthiest person walking the planet because they knew about health. Because the thing is, you can't be spiritual unless you're mental. Yeah, you can't be mental unless your body, your physical is good. So build up your physical first and get clean and get good. And then we can start working on mental clarity. Now, why the heck did I become all this transgender stuff and all their stuff? Now, if none of you out there listening to this knew about that, we can talk about that a little bit later. But let's just keep on the road we're on. So the Essenes Gospel. So 171, they took off, went to the desert. They saved us because they kept all the scrolls, hundreds and hundreds of scrolls out there. Amazing. And then we're finding them in the 40s and all throughout. They just found more of them in the 80s and in the 90s. They're still finding them. It's amazing. So where am I? Okay, so the Essenes. So now the Essenes are gone. So all you have left is the Pharisees. And now 100 years or so, because that was 171 BC, this all started happening. And then 171 years, whatever, Yahushua was born and then started walking the earth. So the only thing we have is the Pharisees. And those guys are wrong also. They were doing a lot of stuff wrong because they were adding laws. Now you have the Torah, which is like, we have the 10 Commandments, which is a hardcore 10. That's it. Boom. An easy 10. You can read them right through. Boom. That's a do not lie, do not cheat, do not kill. All those, right? So 10. But they couldn't handle it in Moses' time. That's why he went up on a mountain and he came down and smashed the tablets. He said, what are you doing? And so he's like, I could go back up and get them. And I'm going to add a whole bunch more laws on here because you guys just aren't getting these easy 10. In the beginning, you want the do not kill was everything, animals included. So, but the thing is that they couldn't do it.
That's what I'm saying. How does nature, yeah, if you can't kill, I mean,
you're not supposed to kill, and you're not supposed to eat the blood. And when you eat meat, you're going to be getting some of this. It's disgusting when you really think about it. And meat, it stays in our intestines too long because we're not made to eat meat, and so it kind of rots in there. Meat is good for dogs because they have really short run intestines and they can do it, they can handle it. But we're not made to do that stuff, And it was one of the laws in the beginning was do not kill. And it was for all of it. In the Garden of Eden, it was Adam and Eve were talking to animals. It was like we had a communication with them. We lost all that because they started killing them and eating them. You want to talk to somebody that they're hunting you and eating you? I don't want to talk to them, ever. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. The Essenes, unbelievable. So now Yahushua was walking the earth and he starts straightening stuff out and says, hey, all these laws of Moses is 613 laws, is a full Mosaic law. And then you have the 10 Commandments. What he was doing at the Pharisees was he was really, really breaking them down. And he said, hey, it was only supposed to be like 10. And you guys are kind of messing up. So we had to add some more stuff. And then now the Pharisees are adding more stuff. And so Yahushua even said it. He said, it was only supposed to be this many laws. And then the Pharisees, you guys added more laws. So in order for you to follow and do the right things, we need an innumerable amount of laws. We need an infinite amount of laws. Look at the American law books. Why do we have so many laws in the books? We have an unbelievable, crazy amount of laws in the books because people just can't handle just being good. Driving the speed limit because it's going to save some lives. Speed limit should be 75 on highways at least. But besides the point, there's a lot of really messed up laws out there because people can't control themselves. And so you have more laws. Yahushua was saying, you don't need to live under the burden of these laws. He's talking about the burden of all the Pharisaic laws. He wasn't talking about the Mosaic laws. Mosaic laws are all still in effect. And what he's trying to get them down to was, you guys follow all these 613 laws. You're doing pretty good. Now we can dial it back down to the 10 that we were supposed to follow when Moses went up on a mountain the first time. Okay, now you're good enough. You can control your body. You can fast long enough that you don't have hunger all the time and gluttony and all the other stuff. That's why a lot of those laws are in there.
Let me ask you something. Like this time that you're talking right now, is money a thing right there, or is it still the barter system? Because something that
no, it's money in this time with Yahushua. Definitely money is a big factor because that started happening in 171.
Once money starts coming around, I mean, that really affects the people that, follow the rules or not, because people with more money tend to, make their own laws, make their own rules.
Yep. They did it.
Yeah.
100% did it. And that's kind of a big part of it that happened, greed and all the other stuff going on. And it just went all to crap, even worse. But he was trying to dial us back. Whenever he talked about the laws or any of that, and then he also mentions in there, the real thing I want you to do is to love each other as you would yourself. Love the Father, love Yah, and love each other as you would yourself. Those are the basic laws. But the problem is most people can't handle that, because they're going to break all the other stuff. You're eating animals and you're gluttonous and you're sinning, you're doing adultery, you're doing all these other little things that you just can't obey the big laws. Then how am I going to expect you to obey the smaller laws, like love? You know what I mean? And so that's what happened. So there's only one law of the Father. And then there's 7 laws of the Son, of the Messiah. And then we have 10 laws. And then we had to use 613 laws. And then the Pharisees added more on top of that. So Pharisees have thousands of laws. Most people use the 613. If you're in a scene and you're like already dialed in, you can be down to the 10. And then if you're the Messiah, you really only need to use 7. And then if you're Father, you only need 1. Imagine that.
When you say the 10, you're talking about the commandments, correct?
No, this is beyond the commandments. This is like the commandments are for us. We have 10 commandments. If you can follow the 10 commandments specifically, exactly, you don't need the 613. And I know I have a lot of people out there who are Hebrew, Jewish, Israel. You're going to be looking at me kind of funny with that. But if you can exactly follow all 613, the ones you can, because there's a lot of them in there that apply to pregnant women, they apply to women, they apply to the priests. There's a lot of them there you can dial back to 613 to half, and then the half goes even lower, then it goes lower depending on the time period, because we don't do the temple stuff anymore. So I think I have all of them right here somewhere, and I could actually show them to you, but that gets really boring. But I'm telling you, the Pharisees are thousands of laws, and that's what the Jews are right now. They're all Pharisees. And then the 613 is harder, but it's a lot of wiggle room for you to figure stuff out and really follow to get better. And then finally, if you can figure that out and get through that, you can do what Moses asked in the beginning. Just follow these 10 things. And so I don't eat any animals. I'll never eat flesh. Oh. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I've fixed out of 613. So as far as food laws go, I don't even have to worry about them. I don't need the 613 laws for food laws, because I'm not eating animals, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's how you dial the laws back. Now, about the adultery and a bunch of other stuff, that's about control, and that's about a lot of other stuff. So if you can get that under control, which took me some work, but it's under control, so I don't need to worry about that anymore, because it's automatic. I'm already doing all those. So you can see that I don't get rid of those laws, but I'm doing one big law that covers all those little detail laws.
I got you.
Okay, good. But because that's a big point. I say, if I'm following the 10 commandments, exactly. So I can drop a couple of commands off pretty quick about obeying the Father and worshiping Him, about making idols. I never have to worry about making idols, because I'm so far into it that it's not something I have to worry about.
Ahead of that. Yeah, I get you.
So I'm down to 9 and worship the Father. Well, dang, if you would believe how much I read and how much I'm praying, and last night at 3 a.m., I'm praying for an hour and a half, so worshiping the Father, I think I get that one nailed down pretty good. So I'm down to 8 now, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how you dial them back. Now, I'm not getting rid of the 613. I still have them, but those are details. Those are make me to fine tune. But if I'm so fine tuned that I'm able to do it to that point, then I don't need to keep flipping through the 613.
I hear you.
So this is where we should be, but we're not. And you got all these Christians running around out there saying that they don't have to obey any of the Torah.
That's what I get confused about, Chris. Because when I talk to a Christian,
that's where we're going next. Yeah. So I had to build up from who we all is and who we are, the NFL teams and all that. Now you know about the laws, right? The laws are universal. They're forever. They never change. But those laws, they're only NFL laws. They're only laws for us here right now.
Yeah.
Right? So for here, me now, I have to obey all these laws. They never change, ever. They're forever. But when I'm out of here, the laws are going to change a little bit. And that's why Yahushua is a high priest. Because he's not a high priest here on earth. He's a high priest in heaven. So he doesn't have to worry about a Levite priesthood law here on earth. And this is what messes up a lot of people too, because they say, well, Paul said this and they said this in Acts. And I can give you a ton of verses on that. But if you want to see that, go to 119 Ministries and on YouTube, and they're amazing. And they have some really good videos on changing of the laws. So find on 119 Ministries, changing the laws, and that video will just knock your socks off. It's unbelievable. So what I'm telling you right now is the laws are forever, and the way they interpret what's going on is totally wrong. So if those forever laws are there and they use the excuse that Yash, the Messiah, was a priest and he wasn't a Levite, he was from Judah. And they say, well, we don't have to follow any laws because, the Messiah was Judah. I don't have to follow, anything. And you're like, what'd you just say? Dude, seriously? It's like, that's not it. Yahushua, Yash was always talking about following the laws. He was always in the temple. And the Pharisees ran the temple at the time. They were stoning people left and right for disobeying the simplest of these laws. So do you think somebody that was breaking the laws could go to the temple every day and pray? Impossible. And so that breaks their whole thing right there. And then every one of the disciples all throughout Acts, you can see them going to the temple every day, daily at the temple, hourly. Some of them, I think Paul and a couple of the other ones, they would go hourly to the temple because that's how dedicated they were. Now, if they were doing this in the temples, how? If they were breaking the laws, they would have been stoned after a few days, after people saw them doing it. They would have been stoned if you weren't wearing tzitzits. And tzitzits are these things right here. That's tzitzits. So sorry, I didn't mean to show that. But this is tzitzits right here. Now, if you're a follower and you're not wearing your tzitzits, you're in trouble. And this is the point I'm trying to make is everything that Christians currently are saying about breaking Torah is wrong. Because Yahushua, Messiah, never broke the Torah. He was perfect in every way. The stuff they say he broke was like the silly little Pharisee laws, the extra laws passed in 613.
Yeah, I get you.
But he never even came close to breaking the 613. Not even close. Huh. So, and it really bothers me that they're out there worshiping on Sunday. Are you kidding me? Today, what are you worshiping on Sunday when you worship Sunday? You're worshiping the sun. It's sun god worship. Easily provable, left and right. And if you're worshiping Sunday on a Gregorian calendar, well, who made the Gregorian calendar? That's a Roman calendar. Why does August have 31 days and February only have 28? Well, Caesar Augustus, he was one of the greatest Caesars. He wanted more days. How controlled is that calendar? That calendar, January is Janus. That's a pagan god. It's the god with the two heads looking both ways. They made that the new year, pagan, to celebrate that god as the changeover. Come on, man. So if you're following the Gregorian calendar and you're celebrating or worshiping on Sunday, you're wrong in two different ways. And there's tons of stuff I can show you. And it's just, that's the basics. Okay. And so what we have to realize is follow the Torah. If you can get all these nailed down, and you don't have to wear the tzitzit anymore if you're doing all this stuff. This is a reminder of the laws. And it's not, don't worry about it. That's like one of the easy ones, But if you want to, because it really gets you into it, because then you're always looking at them, you're always reminded every second. You're reminded every time I look down there, I see it, and I'm like, oh, dang. But I'm a little bit past that right now because it's been a long time. I've made a board game out of this thing. I've got a board game. Sorry, check this out. Because this board game right here explains the alphabet.
Wow.
So, and I got the pieces on there, and what you do is the square is male, the round is female. So you team up with your partner, and then you're both going around. So this is the days of the month, right? Yep. Of the month, and then this is the alphabet, starting here with lamb. So lamb, mam, nun, and then going around. And then once you both complete a circle, and then you can come into the center, and then you go into the 7 churches here. But we don't have to talk about it a lot. And then the moon phases are here in the corners. Okay. According to how the moon and everything works. But the thing is there's a lot we can be doing right now to try to help each other to understand where the stuff is. And there's like 1,000 or something cards with Bible questions and stuff. It goes with this and a lot of stuff. Dice for rolling, because you can pray and you can build up faith and you can roll the dice that if you miss a question, you're not penalized. There's stuff like that. It's a pretty cool little game. But then I have this. So, because I'm in the military, I've made folders. So there's the battle space. It's hard for me to read. What does that one say?
No, 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 you're
Here's the
good. You're good.
players. Here's communications,
Yep.
and here's a timeline. And just for an example, if you flip through here, I can get into the battle space, and then we have like the 7 churches, and then a lot of detail into the 7 churches and how the churches operate and what they're supposed to be doing. And then I've got the 7 heavens and the 7 heavens and how they line out. And you can see there's even, there's symbols in here. That symbol, that's actually sin. And that symbol for sin, remember I talked about the top 3?
Yeah.
That was the commissioner, the owners, and the coach.
Yeah.
Well, that's number 4. He's number 4. So that's basically Satan. That's Lucifer. That's their big guy. And then when he comes into the picture, a lot of stuff starts changing. But there's the 7 churches. That's the 70 AD destruction of the temple, and then everything that happened. So, and that's just the battle space. The big battle space, though, is something, it looks more like this.
Okay.
And if you look at this, everything above is spiritual. Everything below is earth, right? Yep. It's like earthly and physical. Everything on this side is dark. Everything on this side is light. And then if you really understand the Hegelian dialectic, you understand that light versus dark and good versus evil is required to make friction in order to advance a concept or advance something. It's like if you have football players out there and you have a team and a commissioner, he's like, I got my commissioner and he has one team. It's pretty boring. Yeah. And then nothing would happen. The players would be they would turn into fat slobs because they're like, hey, it's no competition. It's easy. So this is how it happened. The thing is the good and evil, the light and the dark, and the battle going on. If you're following and you're one of the Essenes, you're a Nazarite, you don't have to worry about any of that. You go all the way to a little crisp, little tiny point. You're right there. You're like in between all of it. If you think about yin and yang, another way to look at it is you have the black thing and you have the white thing, yin and yang. I think yin is white and yang is black.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not part of either one of those. I'm just a line in the middle that separates the two. I just don't want those two mixing up too much because they just cause too much problems. So just stay on your side. You stay on your side. I'm just going to go down the middle. That's the narrow gate. The narrow gate is in the middle of good and evil because good is evil and evil is evil because it's all here on earth. Everything on earth is evil.
That's where I'm getting at right now.
I want to go up there.
I'm understanding they're both. And very confused. Like, listen, Chris, you put in so much effort and time into understanding this, and I don't think a lot of people even understand that it takes that to really understand this stuff.
It does. But I made it easy for you. I got it all laid out. So there's communications. That does a whole folder. You can see I got pages and pages of research and charts just like that. The players, this is cool because this is for us. There's the armies. But here's the armies and the tactics and the numbers in the armies. Why did it have a 200 million man army? Well, it's because we had 200 watchers.
Who are you referring to?
Oh, this is the evil side, the dark side, Satan side, Lucifer. So Lucifer and Satan, they always say it's the same thing, but that was the split that Lucifer kind of made a deal with. He left one whole side as dark evil and one whole side as light evil. Lucifer is a light evil, false light, and then the dark side is Satan. It's like satanic church and all that. And then on the light side is the trickery.
Is light evil Earth?
Yeah. We don't want to be here. All this stuff that's going on right here is evil. Everything. I don't want to be here. It's a mess. But I understand the mess is required because we need 2 teams on the field.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't want to be on the field. I want to be up there with the owners and coaches. I mean, not the coaches. I want to be way up. I want to be with the owners and commissioner. Sorry, the commish.
I get what you're saying.
Right? So if you look at the armies, the 200 million man army. So the reason it's 200 million man army is because it starts with the top dude, Luke. He doesn't like Lucy. So just call him Luke for short. Luke, I'm your father. Why did he say that? Darth Vader. Huh? Check out Star Wars, man. There's so much in there. So the Force is the light side was Darth in the beginning. Then he went evil and became dark and all that. Yeah. And then he goes, Luke, Luke is Lucifer.
That's trippy.
Dudes, there's so many little trickery things going on. I have so much of that weird stuff like that. So you have him up there. Then you have 200 watchers. So 200 watchers that fell, the fallen angels, they're big. They're huge.
Watchers are fallen angels?
Yeah, yeah. So the watchers are in charge of the thousands. And then below them, you have 200,000 guys who are in charge of the hundreds. Below them, now you have this 20 million, right? Because it's 100 times that. These guys are in charge of tens.
Are the
So,
Watchers the Nephilim? The
yeah,
Nephilim?
yeah. Well, no, no, no. Nephilim are the children of the watchers. So that's
Damn,
one level down
they're
below.
another level down.
Another level down.
Wow.
Yep. Now, the Nephilim are the giants and all the other stuff that's going on, the crazy stuff that happened before the flood. Now, the reason why they say there might be a second incursion of the giants
Yeah.
is because of DNA only. So, and that was because Noah's sons, at the last minute, they had to quickly get some wives. So they weren't really totally obedient wives. So they had a little bit of dirty DNA in them. And so that's how we
Just
had
so I can
more
understand this
giants.
properly, the Nephilim are a byproduct of Watchers, angels coming down and breeding with humans.
Not, no, not really. What happened was, as the Watchers, these dudes are high up angels. Think about Archangel Michael or any of the archangels and the really big dudes. These guys have powers. These guys can just crush stuff. So what they did was DNA manipulation. And you got to think about the DNA. I don't know if you know very much about epigenetics and DNA epigenetics and all that,
Very,
but
very
the
basic.
DNA. Okay, so DNA is going to make the basic structure. And the epigenetics of me and how my environment is. So that comes from my mother, and that's even stress induced by your mother when she's pregnant, when you're in the womb. So that's epigenetics. So the epigenetics is probably more important than the DNA. So the epigenetics of it is what affects you every time you lie. You're changing your
That's what
epigenetics.
you feel. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Okay.
changing you like physical changes. You can feel it in your gut.
It's
You
a
can feel it all
bad
there.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you lie enough, you're not going to feel that anymore because it changed you.
You become comfortable doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So the watchers were able to adjust enough DNA to start creating some things. And it started with a bunch of women. So what happened with these women, and they were punished hardcore. I don't remember what book that was in. They might be in Jasper. I'm not sure what book it is. It doesn't matter. Maybe Enoch. It's one of the non 66 books because the Catholics could not afford to have so much information in the 66 books. That's why they threw a lot of books away. Those books are right on, man. Enoch, they were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls right alongside with Isaiah. So you had Isaiah and then Enoch side by side. And Enoch is mentioned like 10 times in the Bible by
Is everything you're
referencing the
saying, would
Bible.
you say everything that you're saying is in the Vatican Library?
Yes. Oh, even more than this. Oh my gosh. If I can get in that Vatican
I was just gonna
library,
say, I bet you would love to get in there.
oh man. I mean, I'm sitting here buying books. I mean, I have all these books from the 1800s that are like falling apart and really messed up. And I've been buying books like everything I can buy. If it's before 1850, I will buy because I don't trust
How do
anything
you
after
like, I mean, I'm
1850.
sure, I mean, you're a knowledgeable man. How do you check if it's true? You can't check if it's true. You know what I'm saying? Like how
Yeah, you can.
is it something internal that is it a
It's,
gauge?
you just
Yeah.
did it, man. That's the
Yeah.
epigenetics of it. And the thing is fasting and prayer is so powerful. And when you get to a point when you can live a little less than the 10 commandments and dial it back because you're in such deep worship and go to where Yahushua said he wants us to be down to the seven like he does because so much stuff is automatic. And the seven commands has to do with some eating and some other stuff. And it's kind of it's really good when you get down to the seven. And that even where it is seen like, but you have to be so like you have to be
Dedicated.
a little bit nuts to do
Yeah, of
that.
course.
You also can't have a job on the outside. You also can't follow the Gregorian calendar. You also have to wake up before the sun rises, about an hour before the sun rises every day, and then sun gaze the sun as it comes up. You don't ever worship the sun. It's only a symbol. You don't worship a symbol, you know, but it does represent some really good big stuff. Same as a moon. The moon is a symbol. You don't worship it. It's just a really good sign for us to understand what's going on to represent. So you don't worship a representation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear
So
you.
that's big mistakes people are making right now. But I do pay a lot of attention to the sun and the moon and the stars because it takes three witnesses in order to really understand things. So
The
if I
sun
really
and
want
the
to understand the
stars.
calendar, three witnesses.
Damn, everything ties in. That's okay.
It all ties. Oh man, you would not believe the stuff that ties in. It's amazing.
I get such a unique feeling when you say stuff like that, and I know something and it ties in. I think that's what you're saying when you say you know it's true.
Oh yeah, 100%. It rings true in your ear, and then it rings true everywhere else, and that's why we have common sense. So do you ever think about the word common sense?
A lot.
I mean, what does it mean? What does it really mean? It means I have eyes to see. And what I see, I can interpret in a truthful way.
What's true to you, or what's true that you know
What's
from
universally
from
true.
what you see. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, it has to be universal truths. So if my eyes are deceiving me, because I'm going to be deceived because I'm human. So I have to be really careful with that. That's why common sense is such an amazing thing. Common sense doesn't mean just I cross the street and I look, well, no, common sense means I'm using my eyes truthfully, it means I'm using my ears truthfully. I'm using my nose truthfully. I'm speaking truthfully. That's common sense. The problem is in this world today, almost nobody's using common sense. They're
That's
looking with
I
their
was just gonna
eyes
say that.
at
I was just gonna say that.
it's unbelievable.
So
So if I fly an
people are
amateur
going
balloon,
against what they
sorry,
know internally is true.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. They're doing it with the whole thing about, giving a definition of a woman.
Yep.
That's ridiculous what they're doing today.
Tie
And
in
I was
everything,
part
tie
of
in
that
that
movement.
everything you're saying with what's going on today, Chris. Because I mean, you know, you can see it. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we seeing? What's happening today in our world, and how do you tie it into what's the timeline of religion, if you will?
Let's go back to the NFL game.
Okay.
So we made it to the Super Bowl. We got a couple teams there playing the Super Bowl right now, right? We're in the last few minutes of the Super
Yep.
Bowl.
Yep.
That's where we are. And so what's happening is one of the teams is losing. And that team that's losing is getting really pissed. And they're starting to pull out all the stops. They're like, let's do that Hail Mary pass. Let's do this pass. Let's do that. And they're doing some wacky stuff. And the last final thing they can have to do something is the alien card. And this was warned to us by Werner von Braun. My dogs just
Oh,
started
you're good. Go
barking.
ahead.
Somebody showed up. Sorry. Just give me 1 second.
Yep.
For a second. Stop. Hey, dude, I'm in the middle of a Zoom call. Like today, I thought we said later in the week. Dude, I'm right in the middle of a call, dude. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, man. I'm like, he's on. Everybody's waiting for me. Come here, Dave. Dave, come on, buddy. Here you go, Davey boy. Dang. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I had somebody just show up. I didn't.
No, I can edit it out. Don't worry.
Okay. It was like meeting him on Tuesday and he showed up today. I'm like, dang, dude. Okay. We can edit
So
there.
you were just talking about the two teams. One's losing, and they're pulling out all the stops.
Yes. So we're in the Super Bowl, going back to the NFL thing, to look at it. And two really good teams are on the field right now. And they're doing a great job. And it's pretty even, for a long time. And one of the teams was actually winning for a long time. The other side, the dark side, they were winning for a long time. They were doing a lot of stuff, a lot of little plays and things going on because they've been setting up this field for a long time. Because it's been a while, right? And you can see how everything is just going downhill. Yeah. I mean, look like the Titanic, Jekyll Island, and look at the Fed, look at just look at America only. Then look at the world, the League of Nations that turned into the United Nations that just turns into this big monster controlling everything.
What were you going to say about what were you going to say about Werner von Braun?
Oh, Werner von Braun. So Werner, in some of it to his secretary or something in some of his notes and all that, he said, just don't forget, the last card they have is the alien card.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. So that's what's happening right now. So if they're playing the last card, and that dude was so high up in the totem pole.
A lot of people don't know. I understand
stuff.
what you're talking about right now. Just to preface what you're saying, a lot of people say that they at some point are going to bring out a fake alien invasion, if you will. And what are we looking at? Yeah, what are we looking at today? I mean, what is this guy? Go ahead.
Okay, so it's real. It's a real alien invasion, but the aliens aren't from outer space. That's ridiculous. They're from underwater, And I talked about this even on Joe Rogan, I think. Talking about, I even told them where some of the tunnels are.
Yeah.
There's one off of a place in California, there's one place off Puerto Rico. So it's not very hard to figure stuff out if you really want to know.
So you think, I mean, you don't think, you believe the government knows about this?
100%. They're in on it. Northrop Grumman's Skunk Works, they're in on it.
Exactly.
Actually, if I had my old laboratory, because I worked tech, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I was at SEAL Team 6, and I was a technology guy. I wasn't a door kicker, and all the door kickers are all like, you didn't do green team. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't have to, dude. I'm here.
Yeah.
And it's like, they get angry, and then they try to beat me up. but whatever. But the thing is I was a technology guy. I was a door kicker SEAL that was flying UAVs back in like the early 2000s and
Early
doing all
days.
wacky
Yeah.
stuff. I
Okay.
invented so much crap. You wouldn't, it's just nuts. So that's who I am. I'm a technology weirdo. Actually, I got
Just
my
Chris, just
radio
so I can
stuff.
understand this correctly, something that I'm scared about right now is one of is are these Northrop Grumman's, are these defense
Not
contractors,
all of them.
are they running the world? I mean, is it to the point where, I mean, are they above government
No, they're well, no, they're below government, but they're a little bit
on the
rogue,
same?
a little bit in some ways,
Okay.
because our government is a visible government. Then you have a shadow government. So you have a white government and a black government, and that's kind of what everybody knows about.
Yeah.
Then you have a gray government, and so the gray government is what's controlling all of that stuff.
Okay.
So it's the same thing in the Vatican. You have a white pope, you have a black pope. And most people know about the black pope, but there's a gray pope too. The gray pope is the one that does everything. He's the one that controls the white pope and the black pope and makes everything happen. And this is going into Orsini's and the 13 families and a bunch of stuff. So just deep research if you want to get into that.
I just got into Orsini's.
Oh, nice. You know a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah.
I hope a lot of your followers out there do it because it's deep. And that's why the Vatican and what they're doing right now, they're kind of showing their hand of whose team they're on.
Yeah. Sure.
It's unbelievable what they're doing.
Sure.
So the aliens, Northrop Grumman,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And the two big places and a bunch of places inside the country. And you got to remember, and if you think about the railroads that were being built back in like the 1800s or whatever, every one of those railroads is specific. And they're specific because they go along ley lines and they also go to center points of gravity, center points of, when I say gravity, it's not really gravity. Gravity doesn't exist. It's all buoyancy and Archimedes' law. So you have areas, though, that are very powerful as far as energy centers. And so all these energy centers are then connected, and those connections are underground tunnels.
Okay.
Now, the reasons why they put all the railroads where they put them is because every railroad track going between major cities is directly over top of the domes. I mean, the tunnels going to the domes, the deep underground military bases. So massive tunnels. That's why the railroads are there. So they wanted to own that land. So there's no possibility of anybody ever digging down or hearing or anything.
That would make sense.
So that's what it is. So what you do is you look at all the railroad tracks and all the big major ones that were put up in the 18s,
Yeah.
and then look at all the major cities and then look at where the domes are and do these overlays and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Huh.
It's amazing.
Wild.
And then you'll see also Denver is kind of a special place.
Yeah, I've heard this.
A lot of it's going out of. So
Have you ever done any kind of personal research on stuff like this? I mean, it's interesting. I mean, have you ever tried?
I already know enough that I don't really care.
Okay.
So that's another part that I'm just so far past. And I know they know it because they know if they even mess with me, they're going to hurt because where I'm going and I'm already there, there's a lot to it.
Okay.
They know who I am and they won't mess with me because they'll come really hard down on them. So, and there's a few other people out there. This is also what, who's that one big whistleblower alien guy who's been coming out?
You're talking about,
he knows me and I know him and I can't remember, just totally messing his
glasses. He's got bald
head.
head.
Yeah. You know his name.
Yeah. Yep.
But, and probably everybody else out there knows his name. Just flash it across the screen if you can when I'm on my meeting right now. But he's also said the same thing. When you get to a point, you almost become untouchable to a lot of those entities because they start getting they just don't want to mess with me. And especially because they know that, dude, I don't care what you're doing. And I don't care what they're doing on the light side or the dark side because I'm only the line in the middle. All I'm doing is trying to make you guys maybe not mess so much stuff up so badly. That's all I'm here for. And they pretty much figured that out, and the aliens, Northrop Grumman, a few other countries have it. I think somebody said it was only America and China, but that's not true. There's other stuff going on. But there are alien beings, though. There's clones that have been inserted with parasites. It's a probesis. It goes through the eyeball. That's why if you look at the Black Eye Club, so look up Black Eye Club. And you'll see a ton of Hollywood people. You'll see a lot of politicians. You'll see a lot of those people. So once they get that one, it's a small parasite. They can go into your eye, and it goes back to the eye stem, and it makes its way back to where the eye stem comes together. It's whatever it does, and then it sits in there and it takes full control over that human. But the thing it does, though, is because this is Watcher technology. When that thing does take over a human's body, it'll give that human body supernatural abilities, which is amazing. So if you see any professional athletes doing stuff that's like that just looks impossible. It's like it's because they have one of those in them. So they were enhanced to a point, and they can get physical enhancement, you get mental, you can get night vision, you can get whatever you want if you want to be totally controlled by parasite. And so this is the thing about the Essenes. The Essenes knew the parasites were the key. The demons are the leftovers of the Nephilim. So the Watchers made all these Nephilim. All the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood. The only reason there were giants after the flood was because the DNA was still really strong within the two women, and that would be Ham and Japheth's wives. I think Japheth had a lot less because there was only a couple of giants attributed to his line, but there was a ton of giants attributed to Ham's line. Okay. Shem had 0 DNA problems with him or his wife. Okay, so from his line, it's 100% clean of the DNA. So that's one of the keys. And that's why the line of Shem is like the really, really amazing line, because they were untouched by the Nephilim DNA manipulation stuff. I mean, the Watcher DNA manipulation. So being from the line of Shem, and Shem is actually Melchizedek. So he is the king of Jerusalem at the time when Abraham, remember when Abraham, he took out a whole bunch of cities and saved all these people, and he gave tithing, 10% tithings to Melchizedek, the king of Jerusalem.
I've heard of this.
The high priest of Jerusalem. Well, that's Shem. It's amazing. I'm just like, wow, this stuff is awesome. There's something else going. What's that?
What do you think about what's going on with Jerusalem right now? With how they're maneuvering, and what is that?
We're part of the game. So the temple, the third temple they're trying to build, is a total illegal temple.
Is that what they're trying to do with Gaza?
Yeah. Well, no, Gaza's a whole other thing. That's a Ben Gurion canal to make their own canal up through the Aqaba. So they're going to go through Aqaba and then straight up there and then cut over. They need to go through Gaza. But the only way they can build that canal is through nukes. So they're going to get as many people out of it as they can or whatever they're doing. And then when the nukes start dropping is when they're trying to finish that canal. So it's all a big plan. So the third temple is an illegal temple. It's a total blasphemy. And if you look at all of the, there's a whole bunch of people out there who from the tribe of Judah who are also against the settlement in Israel. It's an illegal settlement. They're not supposed to be there. When Yah spread out and cast all the tribe of Judah out to the four corners of the earth, and a lot of that had to do with the slave trade. So most of the tribe of Judah, probably all of it, is going to be the African Americans. I call them African Americans still. I can't stand that, but I don't know, man. But the Black Americans and the blacks in Europe and the blacks in all over the world, a lot of those are going to be tribe of Judah, and they're the main lost tribe of Judah. Now I'm merely one of the 10 lost tribes, but the tribe of Judah, that's all the blacks, and they were enslaved and just all the stuff going on, and they were just beaten down into terribleness. It was just the worst. And that's what happened. Now, they're not in Israel. Who's in Israel? It's the Khazarians. The Khazarians are the only ones that went to Israel. And those are gypsies. Those are gypsy murderers and thieves and greedy. If you read about the Khazarian Empire, this goes way back.
I've heard of it. I haven't really done much research on it. Yeah, okay.
The Russian Federation tried to make them stop because they were vampires and eating and cannibals. These guys were really off. And so the Russian Federation joined with a whole bunch of other countries around them and tried to destroy Khazaria. But the Khazarian kings got word of it, and they escaped just before the battle, and they went to Bohemia. And that's where you get the Bohemians and all the other stuff, and why Europe just went to crap, because the Khazarians fled. That's between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. That's where Khazaria was. So they left there. The Russians came down and just wiped everybody out. It was they had to get rid of them because they would not comply. So then now you only have them in Bohemia. So then you have them all over Europe. And then what all the Khazarians do? Well, we need to get a plan going. And then you have the Rothschilds and all the other stuff. So Lord Rothschild and the Balfour Agreement and everything else. That's all Khazarians.
What's the Balfour Agreement?
So the Balfour Agreement was why World War I went the way it did. Germany in World War I, they were just, so much of stuff is messed up because all the kings and queens, everybody were all married together. That was supposed to be just like a battle play and a way to take some of the power from Germany and do some other stuff. It was a little game the royals play. The
It had
thing
something
is,
to do with the
everyone in the
assassination
royal
of
team,
Franz Ferdinand or something like that,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
down in Bosnia. I've actually been right on the exact spot where he was
Wow.
shot in
Wow.
Bosnia. I was in Bosnia in the
What's
90s.
the area like?
When I was there, it was during the war, and it wasn't very fun.
Wasn't good.
But it's a beautiful country and beautiful people. If I could move to Bosnia right now, actually, I wouldn't even go to Bosnia. I'd rather be up in Serbia. But I would go to Serbia and move there in a nanosecond.
You like the
But because
cold.
they're great people.
You like the cold, my friend.
Yeah, a little bit. So,
What did you think? I mean, you were young when you were in Afghanistan, so I mean, where was your mindset at religion wise when you were, hooking and
well,
jabbing in the desert?
funny you should ask that one. I wrote a book. I wrote a book in 2008.
I saw that. Yep.
So this book right here is from 2008 when I was in Afghanistan with SEAL Team 6. And this will tell you exactly where my mind was. And the thing is I was still very spiritual, but I was super, super confused. So inside of this thing is going to have a lot of like really, really good information from the Bible, from the Buddhists, from all kinds of stuff all wrapped in. I have in here stuff from the Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Like I was way into the Emerald Tablets and Hermes Trismegistus and all that stuff. So, and I was digging way deep into that, and that's where this book comes from. And what it'll do is give you, it's a workbook. So if you look in here, some of the pages.
Oh, I have it. You
You
sent me this. I have it.
Oh, I did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are super short. So this one's all on energies and stuff, and it's really, really great information. What I would say was this book is more like into the 613 or maybe even further than that. This is like really some details and way to like spiritually, mentally master some really good stuff. And I made it really open like that. So down here is personal reflections. So I wrote a line and then personal reflections. And it's supposed to be for you to take that line and then just kind of expand on it and personalize it and make it yours. A workbook. And at the end of it, it tells you where my journey ended up on conclusions or what epilogue. So I don't look at the stuff very much, but the epilogue shows like the beginning. I'll talk about Afghanistan and where I was, and then read all the way through it, and then hit the epilogue, and you're like, "Dang, okay, now I know where you were at." So I have one more little tiny book like this coming out because I don't really want to write books. I don't want to be on this even, but I think it's necessary because my life has been so wacky, like just stupid, all the transgender stuff and all the traps I fell into. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lay some stuff out so that other people don't fall into the same traps.
That's where I was going to go to next.
This right here was written specifically only because what this did was it opened me up to a whole bunch of traps. But if you can read it with that in mind by going to the beginning and find out who I am, then go to the epilogue and find out where I ended up, and then look at what I wrote and then figure out in there the stuff that you could use that would make you understand. But what you really want to do is you want to just dial back to the 10 Commandments, So I just told you really don't buy the book but it's good. It's a really good workbook. And it's a way to get you really thinking and understanding on a bunch of different levels from the Egyptian Book of the Dead and going into Buddhism and going to that. It takes all the religions and just kind of does this and puts it into one little capsule. Okay. The thing is that if you take that whole capsule, it's just 10 Commandments and the Bible. You could look at that Bible, and because it was the Qumran scrolls and Dead Sea and all that other stuff, there's so many things that are proving true today, right now, that we don't have any way to explain. We don't understand why, and it's beautiful.
I think what you said in the very beginning, it all comes down to like our internal compass of what we believe is really good or not. We know it.
Yep. And there's many paths, but all the paths end up at the same place. They all end up at the same place in the commissioner's office. Do you think he has a set of rules?
Probably not.
No, I said, no, the commissioner, he has a rule, man. Big rule. That's
Oh, okay.
So the big NFL commissioner.
I'm saying for himself or just for us.
But for everything, for all of us. He has very specific rules that get down there. But if you can follow all those rules, you're not going to ever walk into the commissioner's office if you're still trying to hold the 10 Commandments. If you're still having issues with lying once in a while, and you're still like, the 10 Commandments are very important to me because do not lie. The commissioner's never going to let you in his office.
Huh.
Because you can't even do that, dude. You're dirty. I know you're dirty. You're greedy. You're doing that. You did adultery over there. You didn't even ask forgiveness for that. You didn't repent. So everything we do is a reflection on him if we're sitting in his
Yeah.
office. So if I'm sitting in the big guy's office and I'm still all kinds of dirty, well, why did he let him in the office?
Well, do you know how
That dude is
a lot of
bad.
people argue that they lie to not hurt people or to
Oh
not
man, no, it
or
hurts.
for like a to be the greater good type deal. You know what I mean?
Nah, there's no
I've heard
such
that a
thing.
lot.
No such thing. A lie is a lie. If it's untruthful, it's untruthful. 100% all the time. Because you know the difference. You think you're trying to help that person, but then like a year later, the person goes, "Why'd you lie to me?"
Yeah, you're right.
It always comes out.
Yeah,
And you got to backpedal. I was just trying to, be nice. He says, "Well, but
it was
it ends up
selfish.
being
It
bad."
was selfish, of that
Yeah.
person to lie. Yeah, you're
Because
right.
because you didn't want to feel guilty and make the person feel
That's
bad
exactly
and
what
you
it
feel
is.
bad.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's like so backwards. So there's no such thing as a good lie. All of them are bad, 100%
Okay.
across the board. And I
Well,
know I've had my share of them. Dude, I was trained in it, man. CIA training at the farm. Well, I just said that. But the thing is I CIA trained at the farm. Dude, I was a professional liar. That's what they trained us on. We do with a different name, different passports, driver's license, all the stuff was all an alias with a
yep.
different name, a different house, a different job, all of it. And then I had to go to an airport and get through security and then go do stuff. So you have to be a really good liar all the time. And then you build the onions up. And so the onion is a technique to use that if anybody
Peel.
asks you a question,
Yeah, yeah,
start
yeah.
peeling the onion. Well, those are lies too, man. People ask you a question, just answer the question. You don't give them the onion,
That's
you
gonna
know?
mess you up so much going through that training. You personally, you know what I mean? I mean, technically, that was a trap, if you will. I mean,
Yeah, it
that.
was
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
And the thing is I was a professional liar trained and a polygraph and all the stuff. It was like, dude, it was so stupid the training we get. And I was at the farm for a lot of classes. I did a bunch of off sites and everything else. And it was just nuts the amount of training I got to do that. And so it stayed with me for a little while. And I definitely had my share of some lies. And I've
Is it
rethink.
professional lying or is it professional manipulation? I mean, what
Oh,
is
oh,
there a
100%.
difference? Yeah,
But
yeah.
a lie is just like that's the easy way to put it. There's so many other things. And SEER school, did you go to SEER
Yeah.
school?
Yep.
I mean, that's basically the same thing, you know? So think about SEER school, but just crank it up like a million times
Gotcha.
to do like agency level
Yeah,
stuff.
okay. Okay.
So, and that's why the agency is really good at it and they can do pretty much whatever they want. So, but the thing is, when I was in Afghanistan, I was working for the agency as a military DOD. So you got to remember Title 10, Title 50. So CIA can only work outside of America. FBI works in America, espionage. If it's all outside the rest of the world, it's CIA, unless there's a war going on. If there's a declared war, then DOD takes over in the intelligence thing. And so it's just the way it splits up. And so the whole time when the war was going on in Afghanistan, all the CIA work was done by military people, folks like me. So, and we had went through a whole bunch of special training for that and all kinds of
I
crap.
don't think the basic human really understands how much power the CIA really wields.
I have no idea.
You know what I mean when I say that? Like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just now appreciating it, and even that, I mean, there's got to be one person at the top. The amount of power that one person has is dangerous. It
Yeah.
really is because
Well,
how easy is it? One, go ahead.
above them is NASA.
That's crazy. That's
Why?
I,
I mean, think about Antarctica.
what
Think about
what really? I was just you took the words out of my mouth. What really is Antarctica? I mean,
yeah, there you go. So NASA is the basically the intelligence agency of the world. So if you figure you have all those nations, how many nations are signed on the Antarctica Treaty? It's like just about every nation
yeah,
in the world, and why? And so if you had Antarctica Treaty signed and then there's war still going on,
yeah.
how's that possible? And then think about the North Pole treaties, and think about the space treaties and the moon treaties and all these other treaties they have. Like they have in the International Space Station, you got Americans flying up on Russian rockets basically during the Cold War and almost during the Hot War. Bill Shepard.
You truly don't believe we're on a globe, huh?
Oh, not a bit. Zero. No. I mean, use your own eyes. That's common sense.
What would that really mean though? What would we be on? You know what I mean? Like
It
what is
doesn't matter.
yeah,
We're
doesn't
in the stadium, dude.
doesn't yeah.
You care what's outside the stadium? You're in the game. You're either in the stands cheering or you're a cheerleader or no, you won't be one of
No,
them,
you're
but
right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
who cares?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I do care because if you start understanding the amount of lies NASA has to manipulate upon to keep the moon landing as people still think it's real? Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
This is 1969. You know, like
He had a dial-up rotary phone talking with zero delay to the moon.
that does not make sense.
How many? The radio wave can't make it that far. No wave. What is that? 238,000 miles away.
Not only that, the way the mission had to go, the spaceship would have to stop. Another craft would have to come down and then go. Like we could barely even drive cars at that.
Here's where you know it's all fake. So where's America on the map as far as the poles? It's kind of in the middle, right?
Okay.
So then think about the Van Allen belts. So how are you going to communicate even the slightest from anywhere in the middle to anywhere outside?
You're not.
Through the way the Van Allen belts. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Now, anybody else out there in physics and look at that, you're going to go, bing, there's another one. There's another flat earth proof. There's no way for them to communicate anywhere out there past the Van Allen. It's impossible. There's no way. And there's no way for those little tinfoil craft to get through the Van Allen belts in the first place.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
So they only tested the astronauts' spacesuits one time in a zero atmosphere vacuum. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
So here on Earth, they got this huge chamber where they do a lot of this testing and really big testing. It's a great facility. But they have, I think they did it in one of the smaller chambers, but they had an astronaut in his full suit getting ready. Hey, we made this thing with these really special zippers. They had zippers on the suits. Look at the suits, the space suits. They had actual zippers. It was an outside zipper. Then they said, well, there's inside zippers too.
Doesn't matter.
Well, the dude went in there in a zero vacuum. They started sucking out the air. And he's sitting there and he's just hanging out and he's on a stool. So he's just sitting there doing this and he's hanging out and they're sucking out the air. And they say, okay, we're going down to zero. And the dude goes, and he falls over backwards and starts twitching all over the place. And they shut down the whole thing and hurry up and save his life. And they never do it again.
Wow.
So how did they go to space? I mean, shoot, Neil Armstrong's footprint. It ain't even the same footprint as the one in the museum. Here's Neil Armstrong's spacesuit, and the footprint on the bottom of it is different than the one on the moon.
Have you heard Buzz Aldrin get interviewed and them talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, remember the epigenetics about lies?
Yeah.
So Buzz still has some truth in him, because sometimes he slips. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do.
And the beautiful thing also is the Pharisees still have like some stuff in them. When they started changing the Bible out, they started changing a lot of words. There's no one Bible. Check this out. It's magic. So they changed the name of the Messiah to the JC demon, and it's clearly a demon. It stands for Jesus is Zeus. Jesus. Christos is Christ. Krishna. They took two religions and combined them because that's what the Romans had to do. The Romans were in charge. And they had all these Buddhists, they had all these other people, Hindu, all these people. They had a bunch of these new Christians. They had a whole bunch of these other Greek, just doing Zeus and all the other gods. They're going, these are three major religions that they had to deal with. Were the Greek religions, the Christians, the new Christians, and the Jews, counted two. And then all these other ones were from Buddha and all the East, right?
Yep.
Way out East. Those three religions they had to deal with. How do you control the three religions? Well, let's give them one combined Messiah. Let's call it Jesus Christ, right? Krishna. So it's Zeus Krishna. And then to make it into the Christian stuff, it was easy to do Messiah at the end. They didn't even do that. A bunch of other crap. But check this out. The Pharisees messed up. They left his real name in one verse. Can you believe that? Well,
I can believe you caught
please
it.
do. So this is Hebrews 4, verse 8. So Hebrews 4, verse 8. Check this out. I can't see it on the screen.
The green,
can you read that?
The green? Yeah, I can't read it, but I can see you.
Yeah, it's all highlighted. It's right there. Yeah. So I'll read it to you. For if I, Yahushua, had given them rest, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So for if Yahushua had given them rest, right?
Yep.
So who is Yahushua? And if you read the verses prior, you know exactly who they're talking about. And then read the verses after. But if you see in a lot of your, this is a corrected Bible a little bit. It's called the Scriptures.
Okay.
It's from the Institute of Scripture Research. I also have a Sefer Bible, which is pretty good. This is a Sefer Bible.
Okay.
That's also corrected. Then there's the Ethiopian Bible. That's the Altav Bible. A whole bunch of them, because you want to reference back and forth to find out what they're really trying to do. I've got a whole bunch of the old Bibles from the 1800s. I've got a really good one from 13 something, but
13.
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of it gets kind of expensive sometimes. In your Bible, if you're reading like a King James, we could probably call it Queen James, but besides the point, you wouldn't believe some of the history I've dug up. So in the King James, it might say Joshua, it might say some other stuff, but if you go back to the real Hebrew, you're going to see the exact name of the Messiah. And that's what you have to do. And please, if you're out there, get rid of the King James, get rid of all those things. It's junk. They were manipulated in a few ways. They left verses out. They added verses. They did stuff. They really did stuff with King James. Why did they do that? Do you know why they did that?
Manipulation.
Money. So in order for you to put a copyright on this Bible right here, the ISR, they had to change a certain percentage of it from all the other editions. Otherwise, they can't get a copyright, right? So what did King James have to do? They had to change a whole bunch of stuff. So what exactly did they change? That's why you go to the authorized version and the unauthorized version. Then you go to the version before that. Then you go to these versions where they're kind of correcting it. And you see what was really going on. And I found so much little sneaky stuff.
I bet you did.
It's wild, man. So the thing is ISR, Institute of Scripture Research, they went back to a lot of the paleo and a lot of the scrolls, the old ones. The one I use a lot is going to be the Paleolithic Hebrew. And so this is Paleolithic. And when you read it, it's like, and this is like some of my Genesis all marked up. But if you look at that, that's Paleolithic.
Wow.
And if you start speaking Paleolithic, it sounds kind of funky. And that's why it's like we're children, because it's a lot of ahs and a lot of like really, it sounds funny. So if I was going to do the Lord's Prayer, it would sound like Abba Nawa, Shabba Shamayam, Kadash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh.
Damn.
That would be the first line of the Lord's Prayer. That would be the Our Father in heaven. You don't say the word Holy. That's really a bad word. It's actually set apart is what you should be using. So I am set apart. You know, he's set apart. So being holy is kind of like, doesn't make any sense, kind of, you know, it's a little transliteration or interpret. Something happened. So we are set apart. So he's a set apart. And set apart is your name, Yahuwah. And if you think about it, they took that out. They changed all that. So what does it say? It's Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And then nothing. So, but if you go to the paleo, he actually says the name because you're not supposed to be taking it in vain. Use it. Say it. Hallowed be thy name. Yahuwah. Right? Praise Yah. Hallelujah. You know, we should be praising his name and saying how much we love him. Huh. Don't sit there and hide his name. That's ridiculous. So, but the paleo is amazing and it teaches you so much more. And the beautiful thing about the paleo is it still has all the Alf Tav marks, which King James and even the Pharisees took it all out. They didn't understand what it was. And so these markings, and the cool thing is Sefer. Oh, it's right there too. So this is called the Alf Tav scriptures. And see the symbol right there?
Yep.
So that's the Alf and that's the Tav. This is basically the A, and that's like the T, that's the last letter of the alphabet. But the thing is with this is these right beside each other, and it's beside a word in the Bible. And you can do it right from the beginning. When Elohim, when they're doing it, you can see it all over the place. Like there's Alf Tav, see in the red?
Yep.
So whenever you see the Alf Tav, it'll be before a name. It'll be before maybe a city, because there's blessed cities. It's a blessing. It means you are blessed. Now, I think it was Ruth, I think, in the Bible. So she never had an Alf Tav. And I think her name is only mentioned 10 times or some really small number of times. She had no Alf Tavs until the end. She got blessed. So her name is mentioned a whole bunch of times in the Bible until like maybe the last 2 times her name is mentioned. It's Ruth Alf Tav, or it's Alf Tav Ruth. Okay. You know, because she finally figured it out and she got it. And you know, Solomon, he lost the Alf Tav.
Which means
he was bound to pagan gods.
Gotcha.
He had 300 or 900 wives or some ridiculous thing. And a whole bunch of his wives, Solomon's wives, were pagans. And he started doing pagan stuff with them. And that's why the kingdom was split into the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, because of Solomon and his incredible sins he was doing.
Huh.
And so it's like, dude, you guys really messed up. I'm gonna have to send you guys to Assyria and send you guys to Babylon and do a lot of messed up stuff because you guys just can't handle this.
Huh.
And so he lost the Altav. And I'm not sure, maybe at the end, I have to, because I'm not remembering right now. He might have got it back right at the end because he finally figured it out and he got Altav right at the end. He got blessed. So, and you can, if you keep the Altav in there, it gives you like an exponential amount of information beyond you wouldn't believe it. Because just right there, Ruth. Why would Ruth have no Altav right up to the end? And she has 2 Altavs. And then she's a lineage of Yahushua. She's in the Messiah's line. That's how blessed she became.
Wow.
It's like, oh, and she's a Gentile. She's not part of the tribe of Israel in the beginning. She's a sojourner. She was added. She was added to the nation. Now, whoa, what does that mean? That means in the line of the Messiah, there's an actual Gentile who was made into the tribes. And is that possible? Because they weren't born. They weren't, because a sojourner of the house can become Israel. Follow the laws, do this, do that. Circumcised for us. If you're circumcised and you follow the law, you can join the house of Israel. Straight up, 100% today, right now.
They're not a goyim?
No, there's no such thing as a goyim. That's them. That's the Pharisees. That's all lies. There's no such thing as goyim. There's animals, but they're totally different. Huh. Now, the tree of life is for humans. The tree of good knowledge was for the animals. We weren't supposed to eat that tree because it wasn't for us. Huh. At least maybe yet. And that's why we started doing all that. Then he killed the animals and took their skins and put it on them. Says, look, you ate from the animal tree. You guys kind of messed up. Yeah. And he killed some animals and made clothing for them. And the cool thing about the clothing, Adam and Eve's clothing, it made it on the ark. It's on Noah's ark. And it was on Noah's ark and it was given to, it made it onto the other side though. Somehow Ham got a hold of it. And then Nimrod got a hold of it. There's a few of them throughout history that got a hold of the clothing of Adam and Eve. Now, there's only one set of clothing ever made by Yah, made by the Father. It's only that one set of clothing, Adam and Eve's clothing. Can you imagine that? Did you ever think about that? I read all this in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Everyone was just naked?
No. He made that clothing for them. All he had to do was make 2 sets. Oh. Then they had kids and started doing it. Then they started making their own clothing. That's what I'm saying is it was made by him. It was like Gucci made only one male, one female clothing.
I got you.
It's like, can you imagine that clothing? It was worn by Nimrod and it was worn by some other ones throughout history. Thing is, it's still here.
Wow.
It still exists. Same as the Ark of the Covenant. Remember when Trump had the Ark of the Covenant in his Trump Tower?
I heard something about that.
Okay, well, look it up and look up all the articles on the Ark of the Covenant that they have right now in Jerusalem for them to put inside the third temple. So they said that it's like how many pounds of gold, and it took this millionaire, this guy with huge amounts of money, and then they did this and this, and had to learn all the stuff from Egypt, how to do this gold, how to do this, and all the other explanations about the technology of the ark. And then it's not a fake art. They said to be really specific, and we made it the exact specification. We did this, did that. It was very difficult to do that. Well, it's not a fake, it's the real one. Huh. It's the real ark.
I don't think that was possible.
That's the thing that people don't understand is that what happened was, there goes my dogs again. I'm sorry, man.
You're good.
Stop. Hey, Sash, come in real quiet. I'm on a podcast. Walk in real quiet. I'm on a podcast. Walk in real quiet. Stay right here. Stop. All right.
You're good.
All right. So there's 2 cows. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're fine.
It's okay. Dave, just one more second while my buddy comes in. Hey, I'm just finishing up a podcast real quick.
Well, anyways, you
can walk right between here. Okay.
I mean, you gave us a lot of information for us to look up on our own, man. I mean, the
Yeah.
amount of stuff that you encompassed in this 2 hours alone, I mean, is tons of
I
information.
didn't know it was 2 hours, man. I've been
You're
talking. I'm
fine. You're
sorry.
fine. But if you could, give us something. Just speak to the veterans right now because you get a lot of confused guys out there. I mean, you know what's going on right now. It's
Yeah.
difficult to look at and put your own 2 cents in. So I mean, give us something to
Okay.
impart on.
Okay. Remember the NFL thing I told you about? So the game is on, the Super Bowl. We're almost done, right? So the biggest law, one of the really big ones up there, is that if the Father made everything, and we all made an image of Father, even the animals, it was like there's this thing is magical, and He made all this stuff. It's all His. Now, if we don't know, we're not allowed to judge. But if you kill an animal or a human, you're judging, and it's not our job. Our job is to love. Now, the reason why it says if you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Yep.
If you live by the sword and die, you're going to die by the sword. So do not kill, no matter what. You can't kill, and especially now in these final hours, because it's really happening. Stuff is going on, and so the biggest thing I can tell you right now is look at those 10 commandments and follow them explicitly down to every little thing. When it says do not kill, do not kill. It's easy. Now, the thing is, going to be really difficult. Now, you're allowed to defend yourself.
Is there
Well,
a difference there? Yeah.
yeah, you have to defend yourself, but then for me, I don't need bullets or bombs or any of that stuff. There's going to come to a time when it's going to be defendable through other means if you can get to that level. Now, the only way to get to that level is you need to really get this book right here, and it's going to teach you how to actually do the fasting. I'm going to tell you right now, if you can't control your body, you're not going to control your mind. If you're not controlling your mind, you're never going to be spiritual. So I'm going to read this thing. Well, I'm not going to read it to you, but I'm looking at this thing. It's just like to be truly born again and truly do it, you have to be able to eat fast to such a point that all the parasites are kicked out of your body. Now, I was going to say this earlier, the parasites are the way the demons are able to possess people. Demons cannot possess a human because we are made in the image of Yah, and they can't possess us. But if you have parasites inside of you,
Your food.
then the demons can possess.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not possessing you, they're possessing parasites. Now, what's that one parasite with the cat poop that they've actually proven it can control people's brains to make them kill themselves?
Yeah. I've seen this.
So it's proven right there that a parasite can control your brain. Then you got that really big one they stick through the eye with total control. So the demons will, the host parasite will be a demon. Yeah, come on in. The parasites have no, they just live, they're animals. So if I was able to do it in a dog, we overpower our consciousness and our abilities and everything over dogs just so fast. So if there was a way for us to be able to take over a dog, you would do it because they're lesser. But we have so much going on in our consciousness and our free will, and we're made in the image and so much that parasites don't have a chance in us. But parasites, yeah, it's easy. It's a slam dunk. So if you have parasites inside of you, you're going to have demons. And so the way you get rid of them is you have to do 7-day fast. And while you're doing a 7-day fast, you have to be doing cleanses. And your internal cleanses, enemas, and it's super gross. And they talk about it here that they go into the rivers and they use these gourds and stuff. And they say it's pretty funky the way they explain it. But
so
it's unbelievable.
Control your stomach, control what you put in your body, control your mind.
You control all of it. And so I'm on day 8 right now of another one. I've done a whole bunch of these. So I did my first 7-day fast a couple of years ago, and I was gifted, and it's been about a little over 2 years now.
How hard was it?
I was gifted so big. That's why I'm not trans anymore. That's why I don't even have any thoughts of that stuff. It's just like so far back, and and I'm just at this point right now where it's like, man, it's been 2 years of massive fasting, and it drives my wife crazy, but because it's weird sometimes because it gets so intense sometimes. Yeah. But I'm on day 8 right now, and I'm like, dude, I can go another 10 or 12 days. It wouldn't even matter. Wow. So the key is during those 7 days, you're cleansing and you're making your body so inhabitable to a parasite, because the parasites are really small, and the smaller a thing is, the more often and the more it has to eat, believe it or not.
Oh, you're saying because a parasite can't live without nutrients.
It can't live.
Got you. Okay.
So I'm making my environment is so hostile to every parasite, all of them. That I've had the parasites kicked out of me for so long now that right now when I'm doing it, I catch it once in a while. That I'll catch them because the food out there is poison. Everything, the vaccines, the heat, all of it, they're dropping them on us right now.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that we're being under attack constantly. So you have to constantly be fasting, and that's why the Essenes, when they did their fasting, they would fast. They only eat one meal a day. One meal a day. It has to be berries and fruits and nuts and stuff like that. It has to be from Yah's earth. You use no fire and you use no refrigeration or free. You can refrigerate, but you can't freeze and you can't use fire.
Okay.
At all, zero, because it kills all the stuff out of it that allows the parasites to kind of start working. A lot of technology in this that would have to explain later, but the amount of food you eat can be no more than what did they say it was about 1.5 pounds of food for one meal. 1.5 pounds is max, but you should be right around a pound in there, but not less than a pound. It was minas or something like that. It was 1 mina to 2 minas. Okay. And a mina equals a certain amount. But I figured it out to be 1 to 2 pounds. Just call it that. It's close enough. So if you can keep your food between 1 and 2 pounds, 1 meal per day, and then you skip the Tuesdays and Thursdays and Sabbaths. And I say Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's not really Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's a second day and a fourth day and a seventh day.
Okay.
So if you don't eat 2, 4, and 7, but all the other days you're only eating that 1 meal that's about 1.5 pounds,
yep.
That's what you do.
Okay.
You have more energy. And actually, every time you fast for that day, if you work out every day, it's like steroids. You're going to get big. You're going to start gaining. And that's why Daniel and all his warriors, why they were so much better than all of the other idiots that were eating all the meat and doing all the stuff, because they're parasite infested. The parasites are taking all the food from you and destroying your muscle and doing it all. So if I'm parasite free, I'm eating all y'all's medicine and his food in a natural way. I got nothing taking it away from me. I'm utilizing every cent of that. And then I'm working out and I have no parasites interrupting my workouts. Some massive gains.
Gotcha.
So it's amazing. So all of you all out there who are in the military right now, our minds have been messed with really badly in the military, especially. I had traumatic brain injury. I had PTSD. I had so much stuff going on. I got none of that now. Zero. I'm just passionate now. Like this is my passion, man, just to come on and just talk like this. And
of course.
I've learned over 2 years.
Okay.
So the first thing you got to start doing is read the Bible and fast.
Gotcha.
That's what I would say.
Chris,
and the thing is, when you're reading the Bible,
yeah,
try not to like analyze it a whole lot. Just try to read it and just get through it.
Okay.
And start with the Old Testament, because you don't start a movie halfway through. Imagine going to a movie theater always only at the halfway mark.
Would make sense.
None of it would make sense. It's another one of the things that Christians are doing. They jump right to John. And what does John say? First verse, first chapter.
You tell me.
In the beginning. It's like every Christian will say, hey, you want to be a Christian? Here, start reading this and go to John. And then what does John say? In the beginning. He's telling you to go back to the beginning, dude.
Oh, okay, I got you.
He's giving you a shortcut. But actually, if you want to miss a whole bunch of the, you can skip a lot of the Old Testament. If you read Yasher, covers like everything up until one of the prophets. So, and that gets into the deeper stuff. So if you read Yasher, however you want to pronounce it, and Isaiah, and then I would read, what would be another one? Job, just to have the stuff. I read Ecclesiastes because it's very philosophical. And then I'd go to the New Testament.
Okay.
If you want to do a really short, like kind of really concise. But Yasher is a thick book. And you're going to learn so much. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. But if you start reading that, I would start with Yasher if you really want to get wild. Because it covers deeper. The Vatican and whoever controlled the Bible could not have Yasher or Enoch at all in the Bible. Because Yasher just breaks all of everything they're doing is busted.
Gotcha. All right, well, I gotta wrap
it up. Yasher, man, it's an amazing book. It's my favorite book in the Bible.
We'll do. I gotta wrap it up there, Chris. We're about to.
Oh yeah, sorry, man. We've gone way over.
No but stay safe out there. Thanks for coming on. There you have it, man. Chris Beck.
Crazy.
Semper Fi, brother.
Thank you.